Okay, so this is a different story I will be discussing. It's The Emperor's New Clothes by Hans Christian Andersen. The story: many years ago, there lived an emperor who did not care for theaters. The only thing he wanted to do was show off his new clothes. Others could typically say that he's busy ruling the kingdom, or the emperor's dressing in his room in new gear. And then one day, two swindlers who pretended that they were weavers came to the king's palace, told them about their skills. Uh, the material was said to be invisible to anybody who was stupid. The emperor thought about wanting it so that he could distinguish the stupid people within his premises, so he could pick them out. Uh, So he paid them handsomely. The two rascals, they asked for the finest silk and gold cloth. The king sent Zana's old minister to inspect it, for he feared who were unable to see it were stupid. So the old minister came in, saw absolutely nothing at all, but he did not dare admit that. So he told the king that he saw its brilliant colors. The swindlers asked him if he had anything to say. He did. He said it was beautiful. And then the swindlers told him what the colors and patterns were, so that he could explain it to the minister. The weavers requested for more money, finest silk, gold cloth, so that they could weave more. They were just pretending. Another good man came in the room to suspect their progress. He knew he wasn't stupid. He knew he wasn't that clever for his job, so he jumped to the same conclusion the old minister did to keep his job. Everybody in the town talked about the special cloth. The emperor had been dying to see it. When he did, he could not see it, and he didn't see a thing, as the two swindlers and a great number of assistants continued working without threat. So he also believed that he saw it. And then the swindlers pretended to work a whole night, burned 16 candles, and presented their invisible cloth to the emperor. The emperor undressed and then he came out with his invisible cloth, and then a young man pointed out that he was naked. And then the king, and then that father apologized to the king, but then saying he doesn't know what comes out of his mouth, and then the whole town began agreeing with what that kid said. So the king sent soldiers after those two swindlers, but unfortunately they had gotten away. And then people joked about the king going nude to a parade. Now we have the psychological criticism. Okay, let's dive right into the story psychological elements here. We have the two swindlers, the manipulators that came into the king's palace and told him that they had a special thread that stupid people could not see. They themselves manipulated the information, bending the minds of the old minister and that one good man into fear and doubt, degrading their free will with that. If they came to the king with such an answer, they'll get thrown out. Losing their jobs is what made them fearful. The two swindlers were indeed clever to use that cunning intelligence against them, diminishing the followers underneath a greater power, the king. The king did not realize he was the puppet the entire way, being tricked into believing in that there was indeed a magical piece of cloth. But let's compare from that ancient time to this time. If those two swindlers did try to use that against anybody in the present time, it would be considered ineffective, because this century is more adaptable, and flexible. So back to the king. The king's greed is what blinded him throughout the entire thing. He had been giving them money for something he did not completely confirm. He allowed himself to be abused by the swindlers without even realizing it. He was a victim of manipulation just like the rest of his servants. As the saying goes, wolf in sheep's clothing. These two had been wolf in sheep's clothing. They cleverly gained more items of wealth to themselves by making anybody believe in their work. The old minister and other ministers ministers. Oh, how their will had been deteriorated by fear. Fear is an element that played greatly in here. It flowed in the kingdom, the people, as long as it's what's trending and considered the law. Therefore, it is absolute as long as the herd mentality continues. The non-existent material is what played a significant role. The non-existent material, it was a tool of trickery to get past the king's mental defenses. He did not think about logic or reason. The very logic behind the non-existent material was thrown back to them. They were too stupid to realize that they were being played at like a bunch of fools. They themselves hadn't thought of changing their own thought abilities. The king indeed played a psychological factor in everyone. If anybody that could not see, it would end up losing their jobs. And then the kids spoke the truth. Spoke the truth. That's when it struck the king sharp as a blade. So he ordered knights to arrest those two swindlers. Unfortunately, the two had gotten away with it. This entire thing psychologically proves that adults can be manipulated if they were given circumstances that affect it. As for the child, there was no consequences, for he was merely the one that pointed it out. And the statement that the king was indeed naked changed everyone's minds. This proves that children are free thinkers. Adults in the story were manipulated, but the child was not. Information can be manipulated, the truth cannot. So there you have it, psychological criticism.